So good day, friends. This is Dr. Bob Hamilton, and you have tuned in today to the Hamilton Review, where kids and culture collide. So I want to say thank you, all of you who've tuned into this program. It means a lot to me. I know that all of you are chasing kids. You're taking them here and there, and I understand the busyness of normal life because I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, and this is what my wife does. And I do too, to a degree. But we're busy people. And I thank you for making us part of your day. It means a lot to me. If you like what you hear, pass it on to your friends and family. We're building an audience because every week on Tuesday, I release a show. And the people that I bring to you guys on a weekly basis are absolutely amazing. They're interesting, and they're people who are doing things in this world. So that's what I offer to you. And today is no different than any other week. It's a great pleasure to welcome Nick and Lauren Mulenos to the Hamilton Review.
Hello.
Yay, we're so excited to be here.
Yeah.
It's really wonderful. By the way, it's wonderful to have you guys in the studio. I think it's nice to be able to be in person, especially after the what can we say? I don't even want to mention the word, but I will. COVID pandemic. That was a tough time for all of us. So it's nice to be in person and actually talk to people. So
for us, it's nice to just not have the kids with us and talk to you as well.
This is weird for us because in I guess the only time we've been without the kids with you is whenever we were interviewing for you to be our pediatrician.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Because now it's like, what do I do with my hands? I'm like with you. I probably look the most put together I've ever looked with you because I come in like all disheveled.
Disheveled and half dressed is how it usually looks to me. But I probably shouldn't say that. Should confess that to our everyone watching this.
I'm fully dressed.
It's just usually we have the twins with us.
Yeah, we have the twins. We have 2.5-year-old twins.
Very nice, yeah.
And they're like moving around the room and do not want to be there.
Yeah.
No,
so
they actually love it.
They really do.
They do.
It took a while.
No, that's the difference with a good pediatrician. They do like the doctor. They have a very healthy perception of the doctor.
That's
they
great.
love coming in.
Okay, well that's I couldn't guess that based on their behavior.
I know.
They were this last week or whatever we were in. I felt like they were just like loud having fun. But yeah.
They're getting to be they're 2.5 now, right?
They're 2.5.
That's amazing. So listen, I like to start out my program, as you guys have heard the program before, allowing you guys to take the microphone, talk about yourself, where you grew up, how you guys met, what happened to you. You have twins. Tell us about that.
Spoiler alert.
I did spoil that. Yes.
Yeah, spoiler alert. And so, Nick and Lauren, you're up.
Do you want to start? You want me to start?
Sure, I'll start.
Okay, you go, and I'll interject.
I'll do the quick life things because I think those are less important than what really Lauren is doing now. But we live here in Los Angeles. We are the mother and father of two beautiful twins, one boy, one girl, that Dr. Hamilton has helped us to keep healthy and alive, which is amazing. And thank you again for that. We are from Southern California and Texas, respectively. So I was born near Carlsbad in San Diego, and Lauren was born and raised in Dallas until we both collectively decided just before the pandemic, as you referenced it, to come over right before. So we've been in LA since 2019. I'm in technology and consulting, but I'm also a dad. And Lauren has, a million things that you do aside from being an amazing mother? What are some of those things?
Well, we want to back up a little bit because I'm a detail person, and you did a really good job of introducing us and all the high level things. I was just going to say that we met in Dallas.
True.
We didn't meet at Baylor, but we both went to Baylor University. And then we moved to LA, like Nick said, almost 5 years ago. And then we came here and had our twins. And yeah, we're loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're happy in LA?
We are.
You're happy?
Yeah.
Okay, you made your peace. It takes a while to kind of get into the groove of Los Angeles.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Mom and Dad, I know that you're probably watching this on YouTube right now, and I do miss you, and I feel like that's the hardest part is like being away from my family. My parents and my sister and her husband still live in Texas. And so I'd probably say that's the hardest part, but we do love living in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Good. The opportunities that are here are amazing. And just the people you meet and all the things that happen in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
It really is, it kind of has an energy all of its own, which I have grown, to enjoy and like too. So, so you guys met at Baylor and you got married. When did you guys get married?
2016.
Yes,
Okay.
we met right after Baylor. I've tried to go back and look on Facebook to see like if we were at any like get-togethers and like tagged in the same photo, but I couldn't find anything. But our best friends from Baylor introduced us after school. So yeah, and then we got married in 2016.
Beautiful.
So 8 years this year.
8 years. Bravo.
So I've passed my 7-year review. She's allowed me to stay. Everything's going well, I think.
That's
Yeah.
right. The itch is over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No, we're quite happy.
So, and I can see that. Listen, so I do want to hear what you guys are doing, we are here. Really, we're going to get to a book that Lauren recently published. It's called "It Takes Two," a special book for twins. We're gonna go through that book in a minute, but tell us a bit about what you're doing, because you guys have got a lot of irons in the fire.
So when we moved to Los Angeles, I was still working in the apparel industry, and I thought like, oh, Nick got a job offer here and I can find something in apparel. Then COVID hit, and then I was pregnant with twins and like sick all the time. So all along working in apparel, I have had a website, a lifestyle website and blog that I write on. So I write everything from, travel guides to, like, are the Gucci loafers worth it? And then to like even my own experience with things like miscarriage, colonoscopies, things like that. So kind of all over the place, whatever I want to write. And then
In parenting, of course, sorry to interrupt. But
well,
yeah.
yes, thank you. And that would lead me to my next thing, becoming a mom, especially a twin mom. I felt kind of like left out of everything. And so I created a parenting website called boygirlmom.com. And it's not just for people who have sons and daughters. It's really for everybody. My whole tagline is where you're not alone unless you want to be. So I talk about things on there, as well as our podcast, Boy, Girl, Mom, and Dad, lots of different parenting topics and things that we, struggle with, joys and things like that.
So let me just say that slowly. Boygirlmom.com.
That's
Yes.
Because you're zipping through that name, and I want to make sure that people, if they want to find you, can find you. Boygirlmom.com.
If
Yes,
there was
so-
a speech competition, she would win it. She's quite quick.
I actually it was the summer that they were, I guess, like 6 or 7 months. It came to my head. I was like, it rhymes. I like how boygirlmom.com rhymes. And also I wanted like apparel that said boy, girl, mom on it, because it's all like boy mom or girl mom. And I was like, but I'm both at the same time. So like, I want to be included. So I originally bought it because I wanted to produce apparel. And right now I just have hats. But then I was like, well, Nick, would you want to do a podcast with me? I think people always like the content that I create with him on my personal site.
Sure.
And so that's kind of just how it started.
So your podcast is called what?
Boy, Girl, Mom, and Dad.
And Dad.
And Dad, yeah.
Spelled out.
Correct.
And so Boy, Girl, Mom, and Dad podcast.
Yes.
And is available where?
It's everywhere.
Yeah,
Okay.
Apple
And then-
Podcast, Spotify, everywhere.
YouTube, and also if you go to my website, boygirlmom.com, it's all linked there as well.
Okay. And so you are, and how often do you put out a copy?
We try to do weekly.
Okay.
For the most part, it's weekly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we focus there on parenting. I mean, the discussion topics are typically everything with parenting from a layman's perspective.
Yeah.
So we're excited to have people like you on in the near future to have, different professional perspectives to couple with, us as twin parents who are trying to learn how to be great parents and raise kids that are amazing and safe,
Parenting is a challenge, isn't it? I mean, it completely puts you into a different space. A lot of people are choosing not to be parents these days.
Yeah.
You're aware of that.
Yeah.
And
Or to be absent or not as involved, right? Which is, similar effects.
Similar. I think that, one of the things that I follow very carefully is demography and fertility rates, and this is a news item, by the way, is that the fertility rate in the U.S. has now fallen to a historic low. Are you guys aware of that?
Yeah.
And the number is 1.62.
Wow.
And the actual replacement fertility rate, and fertility rate simply means the number of children that every woman in the country needs to have on average to maintain the population, to keep the population from going too low, going down, or going up. Okay, that's called the fertility rate. The replacement fertility rate, which is 2.1. If you fall below 2.1, your country by definition is going down in population. May not obviously going down initially because it takes a while to see the manifestation of that. and we have gigantic immigration to this country, especially right now. But anyway, that is something that when you begin to fall below that does bring up a lot of huge ramifications. So one thing I like to make a point of is that, and this podcast is being seen mainly by young parents, is that kids are great. They're wonderful. They bring, what do they bring into your life?
I mean,
joy, laughter.
Yeah. Well, and also like a lot of education.
Wonder.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it is incredibly difficult to be a parent, but the way I describe it to people who ask, especially those who don't have kids, is the joy always grows at a quicker rate than the difficulty. So it's incredibly hard to take care of them, especially as they grow.
This is a pro. We're trying to sell kids right now.
No.
Nick.
I know. I mean, I don't want to be shy about it, right? It's not easy, but it is worth the work, which is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and we've taken them around the world. Like we love to travel, so we've taken them on many different trips. They've been on something like 47 airplanes.
I think what people end up thinking is that their life ends whenever they have kids and that they can't do what they used to do. And there are limits, but, one of the best pieces of parenting advice that we received was, take them with you, like bring them into your world.
Yeah.
And so that's what we've tried to do. And it's honestly wonderful.
Essentially, don't let them keep you from doing what you want to do.
And you guys have done a great job with that. I mean, 43 airplanes. That's a lot of traveling for 2.5 years, by the way.
Yeah.
That to me, that's remarkable. My little thing I say is when you have kids, put them in your back pocket and take them everywhere you go.
Yeah. I like that too.
And it's the same idea, because I think that, and this is one thing that I think that we need to see in the culture, is kids. I actually, I know this is really crazy stuff, but I actually think that kids should be going to work with their mothers. I know that sounds crazy, but I think that if we actually saw more kids in the workplace, like if you had a job and you had an office and you bring your kid. Now, mind you might need to bring a nanny with your kid sometimes, but if we had more kids kind of floating around in the everyday workplaces, I think that people would get the idea, hey, kids are great. Because I don't think that message is going out. I actually, unfortunately, don't think the message of how delightful and wonderful children are is being articulated in the culture today.
Especially not here in the U.S., right? I mean, we just took a large trip in last September to London and Paris, and we took the twins along with us. And it was remarkable to see just how welcomed they were everywhere we went, from restaurants to museums to everywhere. It was a privilege in other people's eyes for us to have kids with us as opposed to a hindrance. And unfortunately, it does sometimes feel here like a hindrance, even though we do it. You get looks, you get criticisms. Well, people don't like them to show up in virtual meetings.
I've had people be like rude to me on a flight because I have a child with me, or because we can't sit on the same row. So like it's usually just, actually the way we get on the plane is like I get on with them by myself, and then Nick comes after he, gate checks our stroller. So a lot of times it's just me, and I've had so many rude things said to me by people thinking like kids don't deserve to be on an airplane.
That's because you have twins, I guess.
Honestly.
I'm kind of rude to twins as well.
No.
You wouldn't be to these. They're conditioned. They love
and actually we get comments like, oh my gosh, like I had them over at a friend's house once, and there was a bunch of kids, and they were just like sitting at the table, like eating a snack, and they're like, they sit at the table and eat a snack. I'm like, yeah. Or like we'll take them out. I'm trying to think where we just were when we were at our favorite winery in Paso Robles, and they went with us to their spring release tasting, and they were just with us in their little we brought their fold out chairs.
Sure, yeah.
And people were like, my kids would never. And I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, we all have our moments, right? But we bring them, and they're kind of like used to it at this point.
They're learning how to interface with adult life, and you know what? That's an invaluable lesson for them to learn. So, Lauren, I want to make sure that we get to a big reason why you're here today, and that is because you wrote a book.
Yeah.
And it's very sweet. The book is entitled "It Takes Two." For those of you who are looking at this show on YouTube, there's what it looks like. And it's a very sweet book. It is found on Amazon.
Yes.
I have bought a copy already on Amazon, so I checked it out.
Thank you.
And this is a very, very sweet book. I read it a couple of days ago to my wife, and the word that she used was adorable.
Oh.
She thought it was adorable. So would you mind, it's a short book.
Yeah.
And so would you mind just in your own language? in
Sure,
your
I would
own
love
voice?
to.
I'd love to hear you read it.
Before I do, I was just
Yeah.
going to say that I wrote this because I have boy-girl fraternal twins, and I was trying to find literature for them just because I think that representation matters. And all of the twin books basically online are either, identical, so either girl and boy-girl twins, or they're like animals. And I'm like, but I have like boy-girl twins and I want to see that. Plus, I saw that there was a lack of diversity and representation in the books, and so I was very specific and including representation both in like race but also in like ability. So you'll see a kid in a wheelchair in there and things like that. Just I think again that's just important to see. I wanted to have like a sweet like watercolor look, so that's what the art is. They're like hand drawn actually by my cousin. And I just really love how it came out. I also made it short, like you said, because whenever we read books, like sometimes they're like, again. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to read this long book again.
Yeah, for half an hour.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I made it for kids, but I also made it with adults in mind. So it's short and sweet. It's fun to read. It rhymes, and I'll read it for you now. It Takes Two, a special book for twins. For Olive and Cypress, love, Mama. There's a sweet little, this is actually a drawing of them. So those are my kids in the front of the book. Twins are as special can be. Brothers, sisters, you, me. Together in the womb, together forever. Be it sunshine or rainstorms, no matter the weather. Sometimes twins look alike, sometimes they don't. They often share their own language that only they know. For as much as they're alike, twins are also different. After all, they're each their own little person with their own little spirit. Fraternal or identical, dark hair or light, twins share a special bond that goes well beyond sight. Sometimes one likes fishing and the other horseback riding, running or jumping or even paragliding. Football, tennis, don't forget the arts. It's okay to like different things and even have different smarts. No matter what you like, no matter what you do, you've got a built-in buddy who will help take care of you. They're always connected, even when apart. A twin's a friend forever. They were with you from the start. The end.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yay. Very sweet.
Yeah, thank
you.
you.
You can read that book probably about 20 times in an hour.
Yeah.
It's probably
yeah.
memorized by now.
Yeah,
I've got to call out, like, it's such a short and small book, but the amount of work to go into publishing anything, as I'm sure there are other authors that you've had on know.
Yes.
Well, and he's published a book. He knows.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right. And yeah, I mean, I'm just continually impressed because she is the primary caretaker of the children while they're at home because her work schedule is a little more flexible than mine. And she's able to watch the twins, be an amazing mother, have all these other projects that she's previously described, and then write and publish a kid's book that was a gap in the market. I'm just impressed by that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the number of hours are innumerable. It is truly incredible how difficult it is, and just all of the steps you have to take. By the way, my hat's off to your cousin Celie.
Yeah.
She did a great job.
She did such a
They're
good
very
job.
sweet. I was wondering who she was when I looked at the pictures.
She's my cousin.
Great job. But doing any kind of a project like this takes a certain effort. So how are you promoting your book?
I would say like not well, and Nick's gonna be like, why would you say that? But I just want to preface you saying I'm doing all these things, but like it's not easy. Like I'm not just like, yes, I am Superwoman, hear me roar. Like I definitely have to prioritize, and it feels like I'm not getting as many things done as I would like to, and I operate on a like what's on fire right now. But as far as promoting it, really, we just have promoted it from our website. We have to we want to look on Amazon to see how we can turn up like the ad spend on that. But really just self-promotion. I self-published it. And so that's all we really, and being on here with you, I guess.
You also had an event to help launch it locally.
I had a launch event here in Santa Monica at Pink Chicken on the Shops on Montana. That was really fun. I feel like I'm just now coming out of like drowning since February, and that's when I was like gung-ho with everything because I launched it, I think, January 31st, I think is when it came online. And so I'm kind of like coming up from a whirlwind right now. So, yeah.
So, yeah, this book actually, just to kind of throw it out there, this book is actually good for other people who don't have twins too.
Yes.
And I think that you wrote it in a way that even younger kids who are not twin can read this book and find it to be interesting and find it to be a sweet read.
Yes,
So
and
I
I
would-
have really sweet friends who bought it like for their kids, even though they don't have twins. I think it can be informative to your point.
Yeah. And that's something I think it'll increase your sales, because there are really, if you sold it to every male, female, fraternal, twin family in the country, that'd be probably about 20.
Yeah. I mean, there's more. I've seen more twins than I expected, honestly.
Yes.
But yeah, to your point, it's, the audience is not just focused.
No,
on
and
those who
it's
have
also,
twins.
even though I have fraternal, like I went through and literally chose, I was like, okay, make this page identical. This is what they'll kind of look like. So this does have identical and like girl, and boy, twins in there too. So it's really for all twins, but also for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I think that's important. Well, good for you. So it's actually a very, very sweet book. So okay, so you got your book. Let me ask you another question. You're obviously entrepreneurial, and you're thinking about the future. What do you have up your sleeve?
Well, I actually just sent off my, I guess, second round of edits to have this book in Spanish. I sent it off this morning before I came, so I'm hoping to have this book in Spanish. There are a couple other books that I would like to do. Like I said, my background's apparel, and so I really would like to get back into apparel of some sort. So I'm probably at least going to offer a couple more like boygirlmom.com merch. Trying to think if there's something I'm not thinking about.
You also want to do your clothing line for children, which you don't love to talk about because you don't think you have enough time, but somehow you still crank out things like writing children's books. So.
Yeah, I would love to do something like that. Just inventory is hard, and kids' clothing comes in so many different sizes.
Writing a book is hard.
Yeah,
You did
the
that.
reality is they grow. And that's the problem. And
I know,
so you're
but
kind of just about the time you get the right size, then they're the next size. And so that's why there's a thing called hand-me-downs.
Yes.
It's because you say, okay, forget it. I'm just going to keep all the clothes and just
Well,
pass
you
them
also
on.
could have a daughter like ours who loves to stick her
Oh my
knees in
gosh.
every single shirt and stretch it out with her feet. So
It's like her regulating, we call it like Nini, but she'll pull her knees into it. So like all of her, at least her pajama shirts and some other shirts too, are all stretched out. Yeah.
Well, that would be a great thing. I mean, and it sounds like you're going to probably do that when the time comes. And maybe not tomorrow, but that's why we have to have children, by the way. Just going back to our previous comments about fertility rates, we need kids to actually be there for our products and all the things we're doing.
And I meant to say something earlier when you brought it up, but we definitely have, friends who are like on the fence of like, do I want it, whether it be like time constraints, but like we also have friends, and just like me personally, just telling more of our story, we started trying to have kids earlier than we thought we would, just because I got my hormones checked. And so Dr. Shamsa Mercy, who actually referred us to you as a pediatrician, I found her because I wanted my hormones checked.
Sure.
And so I have a low AMH, which is the egg reserve. And so she was like, if you want to have like at least also more than one, you should start now. And so that's our first try, was like our miscarriage. And then shortly after that was the twins. I'm very, very passionate about like everybody should be getting their hormones checked regardless of if they're trying to have children, because, your healthy fertile rates and things like that matter for just being healthy, not just trying to have kids.
also just knowing that information is healthy. Yeah.
Well, I think that, people do not know sometimes we get kind of off into our careers. I'm talking about ladies in particular. You get off in your careers and you kind of, you kind of forget that, fertility really declines when you're hitting 30, 35. I'm telling you, it really does make a big difference. So those of you out there listening, just be mindful of that. So this is just a raw fact of the way we are made biologically. So one thing you guys do, which I love, is the fact that you travel. And I happen to really believe in traveling with children. First of all, let me ask you a question. Why do you guys travel so much? Is it for business? Is it for pleasure? What is the motivation for all that travel?
One of the reasons is because we'll go back and visit family. And so because we live away from our family, that really heightens our travel. But we kind of often, I would classify it as it's pleasure, but also business, just because I can write about it for my personal website, Elements of Style. So I think it kind of classifies as both.
Yeah, I think it started from a place of pleasure, right? Like it's one of the things we enjoyed to do independently, and one of the things that attracted us to each other, and we've continued doing it in our relationship in marriage as well. I just love to experience the food and culture everywhere, and I know that Lauren does as well. and just going to a new place is always fun. And now, to your point, we have this new dimension of travel, bringing the kids along and getting to experience the joy of new places, or maybe places that are just new to them, through their eyes and their discovery and their wonder, which is so special.
Yeah. My parents like took my sister and I to a lot of places growing up. And so and then when we met, we like to travel a lot, which is actually part of the reason why we even moved to California, is because a lot of our travel was to this state. So now we can drive to where we want to go.
Yeah, many more road trips now instead of plane rides from Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
So are you campers?
Not so much outdoor. I mean, we love hiking. Like, we'll go skiing. We've gone to outdoor things, but not camping.
Yeah.
Not intentionally.
I don't think we're not against it.
Yeah.
But no. We do like to find little like hole in the wall places, or like boutique-y type hotels too. We're not necessarily big hotel people. I guess how
we
I
don't
would
like
describe
big
it.
hotel chains. No offense to
No,
them.
we don't dislike them. We just prefer little gyms, is how I would say.
Yeah. No, I think that's kind of how we are too. We like to find places that are a little off the beaten path, but are wonderful in their own little special way.
Yeah.
But with twins, I mean, with children in general, yes, you have twins, but also just the idea of traveling. You kind of alluded to it already, but I think it's important that people really hear it a second time. That traveling, when you have kids, it doesn't mean that you stop your life, and that the things that you were doing before, that you enjoyed before, I think we all need to continue to do them. And traveling is one of them. And really, frankly, in the world today, it's pretty easy to travel. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, even though, yes, you have to check in your strollers and you have to do things, but that isn't a big deal. Mm-hmm. I think about those people who came across the prairie in a Calistoga wagon. That's travel. That was a little different kind of travel.
Yeah.
You were beating the ox to make it keep going, We are so blessed. You guys just got back from a trip to Europe, right? You guys where did you go?
2 weeks, London first and then Paris shortly after.
Tell us about those trips. How did it go?
I mean, it was great. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, like, it was something we wanted to do. It was actually our first time in London and Paris as well. It was going to happen in, 2019, and then it got pushed, and then COVID happened. So it just got pushed, and it was like, I just want to do it at this point. Just get me there. And so we did bring my sister just to have an extra pair of hands, which I do not regret doing. Thank you, Emma, for coming. Just also so we could have a couple date nights while we're there, so we're not traveling all the way there. And then
highly recommend that.
Yeah. It was wonderful. Like Nick said earlier, the way that they treat kids, whether it be like allowing us to skip the lines at a museum, or one night particularly we went to Dishoom, which is a really lovely, lovely restaurant. If you have never been, would recommend it. And it was past
where is it at?
It's in London, and there's a couple locations.
Near Queensgate is the one we went to in London.
Yeah.
Okay. It's an Indian restaurant. It's well known there, and it's wonderful.
So good. But we didn't get a reservation because I thought that they didn't take reservations. They do make a reservation. And it was past their bedtime. They were just sleepy. You know how kids get when they're past their bedtime. Sure. But the waitresses and waiters were amazing. They came and brought them stuff, and extra stuff that they wouldn't normally, give, and besides beyond the crayons, and extra food and stuff just to entertain them. Even though they were not really happy in the restaurant, they became happy, and I just was blown away by their kindness. And I would say that we experienced similar things like that throughout our whole trip.
Yeah, I mean, I remember we were waiting to sit down. It was 30-45 minutes before we sat down, and there wasn't much for the kids to be entertained by. And I remember thinking, as we're sitting at the table, I kind of feel guilty for bringing them, even though we're people that bring them everywhere, including restaurants, even here in the U.S. And as you described, as soon as we sit down, it was a positive thing that we had them with us. The waitresses and waiters were excited that they were there. They were coming to sit with them, to entertain our kids because they wanted to.
Sure.
And it was just so beautiful to us. And you mentioned the museum thing as well. I also noticed that the museums would notice you have a stroller or you have kids with you. So they would bring you through the handicap area, or just let you through the line because they knew you had children.
Sure.
But the impressive part to me was not only that, but that the rest of society and everybody else that was in those big long lines, they were happy with that. They understood. And not all of them were parents, but they all understood, hey, we are prioritizing as a society that kids are welcome here, and that we accommodate families that bring them along. which is so special.
Yeah, I think that when you guys with twins, everywhere you go, you are a focal point of attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm sure that you have to plan your trips to the grocery store and allow an extra 10 minutes just to schmooze with people.
Yeah, always.
Right. I mean, it's amazing. And I can imagine, I'm sure that many people have asked your twins if are they identical, even though they're
They
a
love
boy and
that
girl.
one.
I mean, how many times does that happen?
Oh, I would say 90%
Enough to
of the time.
fund preschool tuition. That's
Yeah,
if
a
I was
lot.
paid for every time.
A lot.
I love that.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Well, this is my little boy and my little girl. They are identical. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, but then of course they immediately embarrassed when they ask that question. They kind of go, "Oh, sorry."
I think some of them, they still don't get it because I'll respond with like, well, boys and girls can't have the same chromosomes or something. And sometimes they're just like, oh, or sometimes they're like, huh? Like X, Y.
I mean, it's not something you think about unless you're a twin parent or in the medical field, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, but it logically, you can't have boy-girl twins that are identical.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of, it's pretty
I will
clear.
say that like, you know, people are often like in awe of us. And I'm like, we're just doing what we can. I would say sometimes we're thriving, sometimes we're surviving. We do both of them. But I would say if you're a parent wanting to travel with your kids, I would say do it as soon as you can. Rip the Band-Aid off because
Absolutely.
it will never get easier. I know like 2 newborns on the plane because we flew with them when they were 2 months.
Wow.
And it never got easier from that, but we got more used to it. And I like you learn to not let other people phase you. And because of all the stuff we did, we have a system now, and the system changes at times. But like we have a system and we feel good about it. And we are usually pretty good when we're traveling.
One of my favorite things that we wanted when we had kids was we want it to feel weird to travel without them. We don't want the weird part to be, oh, we have to accommodate the stroller and the car seats and everything else that comes along with it. We wanted it to be weird to be alone. And that's where we are now. I'm pretty proud of that, humbly speaking. But like I recently just took her to a little New York trip when we knew we would be in Dallas so that the kids could be watched by her parents. And, you know, we have no idea what to do when we travel alone. Like it feels like a new level of freedom, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, that is because we have traveled with them so much
Right.
that it's weird.
It's
that we're
called
alone.
being an empty nester.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the name of it.
I will
And
say-
it is kind of weird when I come home, you know, even now, after having 6 kids and having a house total chaotic, of course, generally. But you know, when I come home, it's like just my wife and I.
Yeah.
There is a pleasantness to that too, by the way.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, you've got to invest in a relationship too, which we're trying to. And so I was happy we took the trip, but to your question about traveling with kids, like that is something we wanted to achieve. We wanted it to be weird to not have the family together. And I think that's a good staple to just set, you know, standard to set across our entire family outside of just travels. Like we want them to be along with us on this ride of life.
I think just also like being with other people and their culture, you know, where culture collides, you know, you get to learn so much like outside of a classroom. Like you get to like be more empathetic to people and you learn different things. You might, you know, like, oh, that's a cool idea. Maybe I'll implement that. I mean, the way we raise them kind of fits more in like the European way of just bringing them with you.
Yes.
You know, and so like, and like they say that kids won't remember. Like people love to tell us like they'll not remember that, but I mean, our kids, like you talk with them about it, but they remember things.
Yeah.
And
They
I think
remember
that's
things from the Europe trip.
really special. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever they see a Ferris wheel, they're like, London Eye. And I'm like, cool. I love that is your basis for what you think a Ferris wheel is.
And they were under 2 when they went.
Yeah.
Just under 2.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So London Eye, that's pretty funny. That's there's how they relate Ferris wheels. Before when I'm watching our time here, we are going to finish off in a second here, but I got to ask you about Paris. This was your first time in Paris?
Yeah.
Did you like Paris?
Yes.
The hesitation.
No.
is
I
hilarious.
really enjoyed Paris. There were some really lovely moments. I think back to back with London, they're so different.
Yeah.
But I loved London. But I really enjoyed Paris.
Yeah. I mean, the grandeur. I'm asking the question to a degree because my wife and I just got back from Paris a week ago, And I'm always, when I go there, I'm blown away by the grandness of the boulevards. Were you there in the winter or in the spring?
Fall, September.
Okay, so the trees had leaves on them, and it was, and you saw Tuileries, the gardens, and,
Yes.
and the Louvre,
we did all the big
and the arch and everything, the Triumphant Arch, and the Champs-Élysées.
Yes,
which
we
is
stayed right off
there.
the Champs-Élysées.
Okay, which is so grand. I
Yeah.
mean, you
Oh,
kind of go,
huge.
and I don't know if there's any city in the world that matches that.
Yeah.
Can you think of a city? I mean, maybe Washington D.C. to a degree, but I find that the grandeur of Paris is actually very, very special.
It's beautiful, and it's clearly a city built around people, not only around cars, which
Yes.
is like it's walkable, which is beautiful.
Which is wonderful, and that's what you do. You just kind of walk when you're in Paris. London, listen, I happen to love London too. I think that London is so rich and kind of quirky in this very funny little English way.
Yeah.
But I love London, and
we were just pleasantly surprised by London, especially back to back with Paris. Like we expect being food and wine people.
I loved the food in London too. I mean, we knew where to eat, but I feel like I've always just heard bad things about the food in London, and I liked the food in London better than in France. Now, I obviously love the French.
That's a rare statement, I have to say.
I love like their quality of food and things like that, but I don't know. We had a great experience, but I guess I think I was just more surprised. But we'll go back to Paris.
Yeah. We will.
Yeah.
So, friends, I mentioned that because I think people should travel. I am a big traveler, a believer in traveling. And it came to me a little bit later on in my life. We were not traveling when we were your age, that's for darn sure. And I have to say, it has expanded my mind in a wonderful way. And you do learn about cultures, you learn about peoples, you kind of get a little bit of an insight on what drives people, what motivates people. I do also find the people all around the world pretty much the same. They all get hungry.
Yeah.
They all like to sit down and have a cup of coffee and
community.
Yeah. And so you kind of go, oh, this is good. This is very good. Well, listen, you guys, you're great to talk to. Really appreciate you coming to the studio. I do, Lauren, you got so many things going on. Can you kind of wrap up? How do people find you? And I know there are like 3 or 4 ways of finding you, but can you like spell it out for everyone one more time?
Sure thing. You can find my personal lifestyle website at elements.style. You can find my...
Say that again. Elements, E-L-E.
ELEMENTS of .style.
Yeah.
I won my 4th grade spelling bee, so that was me showing off spelling elements there on the word mysterious. And then my personal Instagram is Mulenos, ELLEMULENOS. And then my parenting website is boygirlmom.com, and everything is linked on there.
And your podcast is?
Boy, Girl, Mom, and Dad. Podcast streaming everywhere.
I want you to remember this moment when you tell people you don't have much going on, because that's a lot.
And the name of your book?
The name of my book is It Takes Two, a special book for twins, and it is available on Amazon.
That's right. And I want you to know, friends, that I found it on Amazon. I ordered it, and there's my copy right there for those of you who are watching on the video. So I got my own copy. And actually, you know what? I also got a signed copy from Lauren as well. So I have 2 copies. Okay. Well, thank you, Nick and Lauren. You guys have been wonderful. Mulenos family. You have 2 beautiful kids. Olive and Cypress are amazing, and you're doing a great job. So I'm really proud of you guys.
Can I take 10 seconds to thank you?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, outside of this, like, you've been an amazing benefit and blessing to our family. From the first moment you came in, when we had the twins, it was just this calm, professional, intelligent wisdom, and we've loved being clients of yours. We really have.
Thank you. By the way, can you do not edit that comment? By the way, I don't want that edited out of this podcast.
It's not a podcast if Nick doesn't cry, so.
Yeah, he hasn't cried yet.
No,
I was waiting for you. You're
Yeah.
very sweet. You're very kind. I thank you. You're kind of easy people to take care of. I have other people who would not say that same thing about me. But anyway, you guys are easy. Okay, friends, thank you for tuning in today to the Hamilton Review. It's been a pleasure to have Nick and Lauren Mulenos on the show. And for everyone out there, please be well. Until next time. Bye-bye.
You have been listening to the Hamilton Review, where kids and culture collide. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of your day. Tune in again next week on Apple Podcast. Rate and comment and tell a friend.